Google TV going live in 3. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Let's get right into it. There is and by the way, this is what I believe a very super odd event happening, a massive blackout in Spain. And apparently this may be spreading into France and other countries. So this has got the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. Large swaths of Spain and Portugal plunged into darkness on Monday. So the Spanish power grid operator Red Electrica wrote on X. By the way, one of the coolest names for an electric company. Plans activated to restore the electricity supply in collaboration with sector companies occurred in the peninsular system. The causes are being analyzed and all resources are being dedicated to resolving it. Now, I just want to point out too, this is as of what we know right now. In 5 minutes from now, they could put out an update saying the exact cause of it. Again, my guess is even if this was something nefarious, they're going to have some perfectly plausible explanation of why this is happening, but the timing of it is absolutely strange. This is this connected to other things happening today is even way over the crazy boat. But we'll talk about what the big things are today, especially as far as 3 conflicts are on the edge of popping off, continuing, or just getting out of hand. So we'll talk about that when we get back. Again, we'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. So to continue with that, again, parts of France also appear to be affected, according to Spanish media reports, which again said several, and Seville and Valencia were hit by the outage. Is this something that is going to spread even further? Is it going to collapse as it all piles up? Again, people have talked about the U.S. grid kind of having these kind of incidents, that once you have a certain chunk go out, then it gets so overloaded, then it just keeps popping and popping and popping. This was the tweet by Javier Blas saying really massive electricity outage hit Spain, which large part of the country suffering blackouts, including Madrid and Barcelona. We have so much that goes along with this over the last 72 hours, including, again, that jet that came off of the USS Harry Truman. We just saw in chat, Jammer ended up seeing on CNN, apparently, and again, I haven't sourced this myself, but said that they were avoiding some sort of missile or something, and the USS Harry Truman had to do basically maneuvers, and that's why the jet fell off. I have seen one of those ships in at least a movie or a show, a real ship, do a crazy turn, and they basically have to drop anchor, and they try to turn on a dime. So the ship just goes whoop. So if something like that happened, there's some pretty wild things happening right now. Is there tit for tat? The reason I mentioned this is you've got this happening, at the same time as, of course, something blows up in Iran. You've got, of course, this attack in the ocean, and then, of course, two flags, Philippines and China, being planted on the same island. Basically, they're going head to head. We have so many conflicts that are either starting, or fully kicked off and about to get worse, that you really need to buckle up. All right, so let's get into it. Let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Fugle fam. I'm doing just fine. You know, in Spain, they have rules you can't use cash transactions larger than €1,000. So cash has sort of gone by the wayside there because it's outlawed. It's not outlawed to use, but it's outlawed to use in large denominations like that. So when you have no power and you have no cash, you can't even, people won't even, there's no internet, there's no power, you couldn't buy food, you couldn't eat, you couldn't go anywhere, no transportation. So it's kind of a crazy event when you think about it like that. If you don't have any cash and you can't buy anything, you can't get anything, how are you going to eat? So yeah, lots of struggles there. One of the groups out of Portugal.
Can I interrupt though?
Yeah, go ahead.
To the idiots running the world that want a cashless society, I don't understand how we are, more and more putting everything on a digital scale. Everything is now connected. There are things that don't need to be connected. Just saw somebody posted that they were getting this like digital smart baby thing. What do you call it? The freaking the bed that a baby sleeps in. That thing was all doed out. It was a smart baby carrier. I'm like, why connect that? Why can't we have like one thing that's just old school, right? I don't know why I can't think of what Dex. What is the word for this? The thing that a baby sleeps in, the bed. What the heck is that called? Why am I having a brain fart now?
Like a crib?
Yeah, a crib. It was all dolled out. It had lights and sounds and all this. I understand why you'd have some soothers or whatever, but this thing actually did rocking and did all of this other stuff. And I'm like thinking, do people ever think in the future when somebody potentially takes over all of these systems, what might happen? Why all of our light systems, all of our traffic systems, all of our public utilities, all of these things are getting to the point where if China, say, hits the point where they can hack into anything with AI, it's like boom, they could just flip a light switch and we're screwed. Back to the Stone Age. So yeah, with this is a bit. I mean, that's a horrible event. The 99% of the people around you, they probably don't even know this is going on, and the people that do, they don't care. Most Americans and most people, at least here, I'll speak for my own country, a lot of people don't care about anything happening outside their own country. But I'll tell you what, these are all connected in my opinion. This one's harder to argue. You could debate that, but most of the stuff that's happening with all of these conflicts, this is stuff that every American should know. If you're in Canada, this is stuff every Canadian should know. If you're in Europe, this is stuff you already know. Dex, go ahead.
But yeah, this also comes 6 days after they were celebrating their 100% renewable power in Spain. And then somebody in Portugal, I believe, one of the agencies came out and said they're blaming on an atmospheric issue, that something in the atmosphere about extreme temperature variations in the atmosphere caused vibrations, and the vibrations caused anomalous oscillations in very high voltage lines, which was a phenomenon known as induced atmospheric vibration.
Dex, are we living in the intro of a disaster movie?
Yeah, it's crazy, huh?
That sounds like the beginning of like 2012, Impact, this, that. I mean, like every end of the world movie. Right, and people in Spain, we can't use our credit cards, we can't get gas. Oh my gosh, there's no power. Oh, it's the climate. The day after tomorrow, hopefully it'll turn on. You see what I did there? The day after. No. U.S. war games simulate full-scale battle with China in the Philippines. So again, this is hand in hand with the story that's about to come next. Don't go away. The U.S. kicked off its largest annual military drills alongside the Philippines days ago this week. Again, this drill is actually why a lot of these kind of negative and huge statements are being pulled by China as well. So it totally makes sense why all of this China-Philippines stuff is happening right now. Simulating a full-on war with China. A total of 17,000 troops. 20 countries participated in the drills, dubbed Bala Katan 2025, including 9,000 American soldiers and 5,000 Filipino servicemen. U.S. Marine Corps Forces Pacific General James Glynn said that this year's drills will showcase a full battle test, the purposeful integration of real-world security situations relevant to the region with live, virtual, and constructive training opportunities that will give the Philippines and the U.S. a collective opportunity to demonstrate its capabilities across all domains, across all services, and all forces. A bunch of drill jargon for basically they are getting ready. They are getting buckled up for whatever may come their way. A statement from the Philippine military likewise said that the exercises would simulate a full-scale battle scenario. Many nations sent observers to the Philippines for the drills. For the first time, Japanese soldiers were full participants in the war games. That's a huge deal. Japan has been self-defense since World War II. They are all up in every last trilateral alliance drill. They are driving through the Taiwan Strait just as everybody else is. If you realize how out of place that would be 5 years ago, then you realize like where we are today. Even 3 years ago, before Shinzo Abe got taken out by a homemade shoddy. That event, him getting taken out with a homemade pop, that literally changed the course of history, and his party, which was trying to support them changing their constitution to get involved and to be a proactive military, which we saw what happened last time Japan was a proactive military, that all had this just huge momentum after he was taken out. So him getting taken out, they credit that with his party garnering so much support and it flipping the tides, changing the constitution, and now having them part of it. Just the Japan, that little part is in history going to be fascinating in 30 years. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, this is also one of the first times that they're doing a live fire test on the Marine Air Defense Integrated System, MADIS, which is a short-range anti-drone platform. So they're shooting down drones in the sky in real time with live fire.
Which in itself, that's what they have to do nowadays. I mean, that is the war that we are fighting. It's crazy to think about, how all these different countries, China has one of the biggest manned armies. But at this point, manned armies really are going to be one of the last things I think we look at for countries. I think about if we go back in time to Japan when it was invading China and Manchuria and all of these places, Japan, this little island, with absolutely the most insane military back then. They were aggressive. They were going at it. But I look at a country like that where today we look at that and we don't think of them as, conquerors. Back then, that's what they were. And we've seen many cases where smaller countries were just absolutely, powerhouses. And I'm not saying Japan's a threat now. Now they're our ally, which I'm glad they are this time around. But some of the countries that are involved, everybody thinks about the manned armies, or they think about how much tech they have. We saw in Vietnam and of course the Middle East, there are so many of these wars and these conflicts that go on that you can't even use statistics to really judge it. In Vietnam, we gave up. I mean, they owned the land. They had the lay of the land, and they just kept in there. And they would have kept in there for another 50 years or 100 years, I bet. That was an unwinnable war. What is the next one? What is the next unwinnable war? All of these countries that are involved right now, everything here is connected. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Right now, there are so many roads all directed towards World War III. Again, World War III, in my mind, is not the end of the world. This is going to be the thing that essentially restructures the whole planet, governments, currencies, who the power, who is at top, who is at bottom, who has absolutely nothing, who has everything. So yeah, I think that there is some massive, massive things happening right now. And tied directly into this, China and the Philippines both plant their flags on the same disputed sandbar. I mean, yeah, they're straight up butting heads. Dex, so you have both of them planting their flag and saying, this is ours.
Yeah, this island called Sandy Cay. It's part of a territorial dispute between the two countries. They have both. So China says Filipinos landed on a tiny outcropping that both of them claim. And then this was days after photos emerged that Chinese Coast Guard officers were displaying the Chinese flag on the same group of sandbars. So they're going back and forth over the Sandy Cay, literally with photos and pictures of their military or Coast Guard or uniformed officers, holding their country's flags, claiming the land, saying it is theirs. So the same territory, exact same times. So yeah, this is we're getting to the next level. It's not just the words. It's not just, oh, well, we're driving boats by, maybe shooting water cannons at one another. Now we're getting on the land and claiming it. And as they are doing the war gaming efforts, the live fire drills, China's economy is, in the tanker right now, just as much as ours is over the tariff deal. They're backed into a corner. There's a lot at stake at this moment. And I think, not necessarily the best of times to be escalating like they are.
I've seen so many different opinions from people saying, yeah, let's get this kicked off. Let's take them out. Let's kick their ass. To, people fearful that China's going to invade it, that they're already here. As far as this goes, look at just really absorb this. You have Chinese soldiers holding up the flag as if they are finding new conquered lands. Like these are these disputed little shoals. And when you zoom out of this thing, I mean, it looks like EpiPen wouldn't even be able to do anything with this thing. But that is the future. Every bit of land, and who knows, there could be land here. They could be looking at it and going, well, after this event, or after an earthquake and a tectonic event or something, this could end up being the heart of New America or something, or New China, or Neo China. But again, they're standing out there with their flags, claiming land. This reminds you of conquering and this time when every little bit of land, everybody was trying to put their name on it. So, I mean, what does that tell you? We are where all of us thought we were going to be. I say all of us I mean our community and most of us here. Because honestly, how could... I guess I will never be able to see on the other side of the door anymore of like what it was like to not see all of this, right? To see all of these patterns in the media, to see a media story and go, that's bull. Like you said, once you wake up, you can't go back to sleep again. You can't hit snooze anymore. Rochelle Cooley says, happy birthday, Adam. Actually, it's within 24 hours. So not technically, but thank you so much, Rochelle Cooley. And again, I'm closing in on that 4 decades. Low T and the Vintage, thank you. Spain by Moonlight sounds pretty good to me. Yeah, well, you can say that sitting wherever you are, but I'm sure people in Spain aren't probably saying it. But yeah, that does sound pretty. Not so pretty when you can't buy groceries, though. And then Stormblade X69 Wags, thank you, says, much love, Adam, Dex, Mods, Foogs, and the Philippines. Oh, from the Philippines. Oh, Stormblade, you're in the Philippines, or are you from the Philippines? That is crazy. We're talking about Philippines with all of this. And then Some Bad Lieutenant, thank you for being a member for 19 months. It's almost 2 years. I can't say thank you enough for the people that support our tiny independent channel here. I appreciate you guys, and thank you. Stockton Sessions, thank you for subscribing. And then, of course, Calais, thank you so much for subscribing as well. I appreciate that. All right, and before we move on, make sure to go check out EMP Shield, especially since we got that sale extended. So make sure to, of course, take advantage of not only our $50 off on an EMP Shield, but the grandfathered in stacking sale. Of course, on top of the $50, you can get an extra $20 off if you get one EMP Shield. 2, you can get our $50 off per device, so that's 100 plus their 60. 3, get 120 plus 50, 50, 50. That's 150. That's again 120 plus 150, or 200 plus 200. That is the best sale they've had. The last 3 Black Fridays, I believe one of them got close to that. but this is the best sale that they've ever had. And this was only for our contest giveaway. All 5 winners were picked, but the sale that went alongside that is still going. So again, that was extended because of so many Foogle family members that were in between. They said, hey, wait, please wait. I didn't get a hold of it. Or people that were saying that they didn't see the show and didn't get into that contest. So they extended it to be awesome. And I appreciate that, really do. And that was only for our channel and our community. EMP Shield, of course, has been contracted with agencies like DHS, DOD. I mean, big, massive things. And then, of course, on the Dempster team helping protect the Texas grid. It's a device that will just straight up protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, pretty much anything that runs, including your generators. If you spend all that money to invest in a generator, pretty smart to spend a little bit, a tiny bit, and protect it to make sure it runs through both an EMP and a Carrington level event from the sun. It takes less than 10 minutes to put in your car, and you're getting home to your family. So I think it's a big deal. All of our affiliates, we pick ourselves. We don't have a third-party manager or multi-channel network that's picking stuff for us and just rotating in. Oh, here's shave your armpits. All of the stuff that we have, we represent, and we absolutely believe in, and we think will save your life or make you comfortable through a disaster. So make sure to go check them out. And they've been our affiliates for years. So again, tons and tons of feedback from even your own community. You can ask them if they liked it or not. Thank you guys again. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/EMP. All right. And then Dex, let's go over the Russian satellite linked to nuclear weapon. We've talked about this for a year. It appears to be out of control. Look at the timing on this. This is very odd. First, remind them about how we talked about this before and how we covered this.
Well, yeah, certainly. So this is the infamous satellite that has been questioned to be either a trial run or maybe even potentially have a nuke on it. It was high up in the altitude, and it was considered the satellite killer. They suggested that it would have to lower itself into a different orbit, and that it was making different types of maneuvers, acting like it could do that. And the suggestion when this first came out, it was like Valentine's last year. There was a secretive military launch from Russia, and within a few days, a Congress people or a specific congressperson was trying to warn America about it. Like, we should know what's going on up in space, and that Russia was doing, potentially going to nuke the satellites or nuke space, or basically launch an EMP is another way of saying it. They just never would use that word for some reason. But now they're suggesting that this particular satellite that's been in such question appears to be out of control. At least that's the impression it's putting off. Now, is that a disguise, or is it really out of control now?
Or is this thing supposed to spiral and it's directed in some way? Or is it just coming down? Is it going to land? Is it a weapon? Is this something that's going to be like a fishing lure? It's going to look like a dead thing to try to catch a fish. It's telling the U.S. and all of the sensors, oh, it's out of control and it's just falling to the ground, when really it's somehow directed slightly and it goes over a place, drops an EMP, or detonates or something, or releases something. I hope it is none of those. I am thinking it's hopefully more likely that it's not anything, other than one of their weapons either got sabotaged or failed and it's coming down, and they'll of course track it, and hopefully it just lands in the ocean somewhere or something. But something doesn't sit right. What do you guys feel on this? Like, do you have an intuition about this? Again, the official thing, the secretive Russian satellite in space the U.S.'s officials believe is connected to a nuclear anti-satellite program, has appeared to be spinning uncontrollably, suggesting it may no longer be functioning in what could be a setback for Moscow's space weapons efforts. Now, if it is, did we do something? I've covered in the last 3 weeks technologies that are supposed to go after weapons like this. We had Trump just 2 weeks ago say, we've got weapons that, the world doesn't even know about. Look at the timing of all of this. Look at what is happening with China and the Philippines, with Russia and Ukraine, with, of course, Spain and France, and this huge, massive power outage, with the USS Truman in the Middle East having to avoid some sort of missile and doing some sort of crazy maneuver so hardcore that the deck dumped an F-18. Something is off. That's my opinion. Again, the Cosmos 2553. You can actually look up Cosmos 2553. Here's the cool thing about how we have our news archived. We've talked about this for a long time, way before it was big news. You can actually go to our website, which is a good time to let you guys know. If you're new here and you're like, where do they get their sources? What's your source? Just believe me, bro. No, it's actually over on marfooglenews.com. You look for today's thumbnail, you click down, and you'll find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document. Even cooler, up in the upper right-hand corner, there is a search. It's kind of cut off right here, but there is a little magnifying glass. Click that, and you can look up Cosmos 2553. And then boom, you'll get the shows that we talk about all of that stuff with. So it's very easy to use. It's archived. And if there's an article mentioned in a show, it will show you all of the shows that we've talked about, that kind of technology, that kind of thing, Bigfoot sighting, whatever it is. So utilize that. It's free for you. Again, we pay to have that and to have that tool for you guys. It's a lot of work, and we hope you guys appreciate it. And of course, utilize it. Utilize it for your own channels. If you have a YouTube channel and you're doing something, utilize it. Again, this whole thing, something seems off. And then senior Russian general assassinated. Same timing. Dex in a car blast. What happened with this, and who was he, and why was this important?
Well, he's been identified as Lieutenant General Yaroslav Moshkalik. He's a deputy head of the main operations directorate of the General Staff of the Russian Armed Forces. He perished when a homemade explosive device detonated under his Volkswagen Golf, according to TASS. So shrapnel ripped through the area in what appears to be a residential neighborhood. So obviously a targeted attack. And again, all of this is happening as we're in the midst of what was supposed to be negotiations and coming around to a ceasefire.
Yeah, who didn't see that one coming? Who didn't see that this thing was going to somehow fall through? I'll just be the first one to say I did. Again, even my wife read this morning. I was telling Dex before the show. She read, oh, look, there's peace with Ukraine and Russia. And she's not gullible or anything. It really, by the way that the article put it and whatever she got the notification for, it made it sound like they just declared peace. Again, with all of those things, the news is constantly either putting you on high hope land, high hope pedestal, or taking you down, scaring the crap out of you. That's why the best thing to do if you really get into our community is to be really on a steady line. Don't be too complacent when everything seems fine, and don't be, freaking panicked when the world is ending according to the media. You shouldn't be getting either of that from our show. But right now, events like this, look at how many events have just happened in the last 48 hours. People don't believe that these things aren't tied in directly together. I bet half of these are on one screen or another in the Situation Room in our White House. So, yeah, what do you guys think happened with this whole thing? Let me know in the comments down below. And then Trump unleashes more anger, frustration at Zelensky for not signing the rare earth deal. So as all of these things are falling through, they did another meeting. They're still not to this deal. Dex, it seems like Zelensky's just dragging his feet.
Yeah, well, it was really funny at the funeral for the Pope. Trump had Zelensky, I think he had Macron with him, was trying to set up a meeting with an impromptu meeting with Trump, and they had 3 chairs there. And apparently Trump sort of put the arm around Macron and basically told him to go on. And they ended up just having 2 chairs, and it was just Zelensky and Trump. So they had a sit down in the middle of this big hall, just these 2, leaders sitting, or, really tall guy and a really short guy sitting there at the chairs, leaning into one another, talking privately. in this big open space. Famous pictures out all over the place. You've probably seen it, but coming out of that, Trump said, look, it doesn't seem like anybody's making the progress. Like, he's mad that Zelensky's not signing the deal, which he should have signed last week. You've got, Putin continuing to, launch missiles into residential areas and taking out lots of targets in Ukraine while they're supposed to be winding this stuff down and getting to a point of ceasefire. And it's just nothing is heading in the right direction. And you also heard the administration say, look, they'll walk away from this deal and they'll just leave it to Europe to deal with if neither side wants to negotiate. If that's all they want is to have war, then they'll have war. We're just not going to be part of it.
Yeah, and people have their thoughts and doubts about something like that working out as well. For a minute there, with all of the news that was happening, all of the events that was happening, it really seemed like no matter what, even if World War III went off, Trump was talking like, we're going to basically close up our borders. We're going to get, everybody, hey, if you want to build stuff, you want to sell stuff to us, then you're going to have to come here. Really seems like you'll have to get in the fence before we close it, and you'll have to make it here if you want to do it, because it looks like we're shoring up everything. We've got military squadrons, tanks, Humvees down at our border, backed up by destroyers. A lot of people don't know this. If you're brand new, haven't been following this for the last month, destroyers are backing up our border missions. It really looks like we're shoring it up. Something like this, it's like you could kind of see that happening, because all of the things that the Trump has, the administration has done in the last month, I think that a lot of people did not have this on their bingo card forever. Like the health department, moving dyes, all of these things that have happened almost immediately. Dex, you know what's crazy to me is every previous administration, they always make all of these promises of things that they're going to do. And then when they get into office, it's this bureaucratic nightmare and almost nothing ever actually gets done. How is he getting past all of the bureaucratic nightmares? I wonder how many executive orders had to be signed so far just to get, this done. Is there ways that he's getting around some of the other things that he can't sign the executive orders for?
I can't remember the number. It was well over 100. It was announced today, and they were talking about the first 100 days that he signed more executive orders in the first 100 days than Biden did in 4 years. So yes, that's the only real power he has, aside from obviously signing in bills into law that come out of the Congress, which that's like pulling teeth. So that'll take forever. Which they're working on too, but the only power he really has is to sign executive orders and to, take his branches, like whether it be the DOJ or FBI or whatever, and sort of direct them in areas that he wants them to go. But for the most part, it's the power of the executive order. So, he's been doing that. By the way, did you hear they arrested a judge?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of a crazy thing. And then, of course, the other thing.
Tell people why, because
she had an illegal, I think, in the courtroom or in the courthouse, and she helped them leave and showed them where the door was so they could evade because ICE was there looking for them to apprehend them. And so she aided and abetted the getaway of a criminal that was being pursued by law enforcement. So I think that it's a breaking of the law.
And the guy had a crime. Like his crime was like didn't he beat somebody? I mean, it was a horrible crime too that the guy's accused of.
Well, yeah. Nonetheless, I mean, if the guy was evading parking tickets, the judge still shouldn't do that, right? I mean, it's there's laws, and that's what they're there to uphold the law, not break it. So I know everybody's not perfect, and they all break laws, but still.
Do you see how the media is framing it, though, or at least the left
they're
media?
saying the president's going after the judges now. It's like, well, not really. The judge did something illegal. If you break the law, you break the law.
Yeah. How high was that judge? That's not a grand supreme judge or anything. Right?
No, I don't think it was anything really high, but
it's just a judge.
It was enough to matter.
But they make it sound like, if you don't, they're making it, they're making it sound like he's taking out anybody that goes against it. It's like, what was she thinking? Um, of course, the same channels. I saw it on both ends of it. And again, I just want to point out, I've said this many times before, I'm annoyed with like a 30% of the stuff that is said on Fox, the guests they have on, the politicians on the right. I am equally disgusted with the politicians on the right. On the left, though, they'll just avoid telling you certain things. Like during all of those riots, the whole kid that went down there, I'm not going to get in a full debate about this, but how they didn't say what the rap sheets of all these guys were. Now, other people can go, well, that doesn't mean rap sheets. You know, what? The point is, that's news, and it's part of all of the facts that they knew at that point. Why aren't they telling you? Why do they leave out certain things? Or like when that Ford Explorer, they literally had these headlines in the news around Christmas or whenever that was. I think it was around Christmas. It was Christmas parade or something. Ran over a bunch of people. And at the time, it was a very racially tense time. And all of the news, specifically on the left side, said Ford Explorers takes the lives of 12. If you look back up at this, everybody had a heyday with it. Malta, it wasn't just one news. It was like, you know, all of the big media companies were saying, Ford Explorer runs into people and blah, blah, blah. So people memed it. It was like a meme. It's like, you know, pencils accidentally stabs eye. Like they basically didn't want to say what the driver was. They didn't want to say his name. They didn't want to say anything about him. So they said, Ford Explorer hits this. I'm surprised they didn't get sued from Ford, because you can't make it sound like a Ford Explorer just went off on a rampage. But my point is I'm equally sick with just all of this stuff, you know, that how they cover these things. And, you know, that's why I will brag about this. Here, the reason this is the real news is because you have people right next to you. You have, at least right tonight, we have 2,000 people in chat. You have 2,000 people. We're looking at the mainstream media, and you're getting 2,000 people and their intuition, their life experiences, their regional experience. People are from Europe, Canada, and they're all looking at these pieces and going, wait, that doesn't make sense. That's a bunch of bull. That's why this community is really important. That's why other communities in YouTube and every other platform are super, super important. Because this, even what we're doing right now, won't even be doable in the future if certain people take power, or if certain people keep going in the direction that they're going. I mean, heck, think about this. Would you want to talk about half of this stuff if there was government rules about not talking about it, and they tracked every little thing you did from the time you logged on to logged off? Probably not. We wouldn't even be chatting about this, which we take for granted. Dex, go ahead.
Well, speaking of the media, did you hear what they said about him at the funeral in his blue suit? So, you know, Trump goes to the funeral. They were asked to wear dark suits, and Trump wears a blue suit, dark blue suit, and he's flanked by a few people in black. So every news media makes this big debacle about how Trump was trying to stand out in a blue suit. Yet there was like a whole bunch of other people, and some even think that Biden's suit was a shade of blue as well, just a little darker than Trump's. So it's just crazy how they spin everything.
But how is that news? There's so many important things that might impact us directly, might impact our kids going to war, but they care about what fabric is on the man's body, and it's all about an attack. And the same thing, though, if AOC wore red, the right would cover that. These are, two wings of the same bird. We need to look up above that bird. We need to look at the shadowy names that aren't being mentioned. The people that own those media companies, and the ones that send them memos to be like, hey, today I want you to focus on how he, did a very tactless thing and wore a blue suit. It's like, that's what I want to know about. I want to know the people that are meeting once or twice a year, going camping and going, let's evolve. Those are the people I want to know about. Dex, go ahead.
Well, look, the media is the one doing this, and we all say for the longest time, and I wholeheartedly believe it, that the three-letter agency here in America controls the media to some extent, or to a very large extent, more than likely. Yet the leader of that agency has been put in place by the administration. So if that's the case, why hasn't it stopped? Like, why does the leader of that own administration not even have enough power to put an end to that? Or does it just not exist? Or is it all just a giant show, himself included? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I totally get you. And then, by the way, thank you, Blop Jones, for being here. The Major, I guess you're out for tonight. You're going to bed. Thank you for being here as long as you were. And apparently you don't feel good. So feel better, buddy. And thank you so much for making it to almost every show. The Comedian, thank you for being here. Zadizia. Dex James, what were you explaining? Contaminated ions are induced into metal, aka induction. Well,
EMPs.
Oh, yeah. And then, yeah, so I've seen people talking about this in chat. Somebody said spaceweather.com has the reason why it's happening in Spain. Other people have their doubts about that. I haven't seen, I know that Wages World would probably be covering this right now if there's some sort of solar event. But have you absorbed any of the chat? Like, is there something that is legit, like a possible reason for the Spain thing? Did we just have a big solar flare or something?
No, the only thing I saw, and it wasn't in chat, was what they had reported about the atmospheric issues causing the vibrations and the harmonics of the high power lines.
Oh, okay. And isn't that the kind of the official narrative by all of the media too?
No, it's just one narrative coming out of one power company in Portugal.
Huh.
They thought that that's what it was causing it.
Red Electrica. That's right. And then Frank Walls is concerned. And then Ian Jones hanging in there like a hair in a biscuit. You want your money back, but you finished the biscuit, right? Suspicious. And then sounds like a hippie thing. I think the magnetosphere is weak because the poles are shifting. Little light. I was trying to tell my wife about all the stories we've covered, like they said that the magnetic core of the Earth. This is, you go search this stuff if you're new. They said, the media said that the magnetic core basically stopped or almost came to a stop, then started reversing. I know that my peers and people on YouTube, different groups and different people that study space weather and different things, they have totally different views on that. I believe Suspicious Observers specifically went directly against that claim. But I mean, think about the headlines that are coming out now that the core has stopped and is reversing and all of this crazy stuff. The more and more that has come out just in the last 2 years about some of the historic things, they're hinting towards like a pole shift kind of thing. I mean, we've all seen predictive programming in movies and even hints of some of those biggest disaster movies. I don't know if you guys know this, but a lot of the ones that have vague reasons, almost all of them are related to like a pole shift. I think that the end, or This Is How It Ends, the Netflix movie that came out a couple of years ago, I think that was a pole shift thing. But a lot of them have that. And the crazy part is that all of these weird events, now even my peers are also saying like something's going on, that the heartbeat of the Earth is slowing down and that time seems even different. And heck, in the last week, now they're saying even that time travel and all of this stuff might even be coming out soon. I mean, like, what world do we live in right now? I mean, it is really getting, it's getting crazy. By the way, thank you again, Zdezia, David A. Smith, and Sparky's Run. Thank you. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, Eric Hecker is making the rounds again. The Antarctic whistleblower, talking about the systems that are in place in Antarctica that are similar to those systems in place up in Alaska, the HARP, and talking about how they were making earthquakes, but also using energy and changing things in the atmosphere with that. So rather fascinating. It kind of all ties back to the fact that what we were talking about last week with the one scientist at the White House, not at the White House, but at on the whitehouse.com or .gov website, talking about changing space time and bending space. So yeah, lots of things are seem like they're going to be revealed, but it all could just be one giant distraction.
Yeah, just like they hint for like half a year that that we're gonna get UFO disclosure. Then when we get UFO disclosure, it's like here's a white page with a bunch of black blocks on it. And pretty much how that exchange went. And then Yuckavang says, you heard about Spain and Portugal power outage. Yes, we did cover that. And we covered that earlier in the show. So you can go and rewind back to that. But I'm sure somebody answered that for you earlier. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's very, very crazy. And it is massive. I just saw a little notification in my corner. It said that it is far bigger than Red Electrica and other companies even thought. Was one of the quotes. Like, this was way bigger than they thought, initially thought. So yeah, that's scary stuff. I hope that you and I never have to deal with a massive blackout to where you drive down the street, you drive a mile, you drive 10 miles, you drive 50 miles, and everything is still out. That's the kind of blackout we're talking about. And then speaking of EpiPen, we showed you, China posting up on an island. EpiPen victim Virginia Jeffers, the woman who has been in the news many times, the woman that shows a picture of her when she was young, getting pictures with all of these powerful people, and one of the victims of his horrible things perished. And they say she perished by her own hand. It says we've got big question marks over it as far as this was the lawyer of this woman. So the lawyer of the actual person who perished says, this doesn't look right. Dex, this is really, we still have not got all of the information about EpiPen. We never will. But this weird timing, don't you think?
Yeah. She came out a while back saying, "Hey, I'm not of that type. I feel good about myself. I'm not going to harm myself, etc." This was many years ago, but when that had come out, and then like 2 or 3 weeks ago, she was hit by a school bus. So then she was injured and in the hospital and recovering from that. And then, as if that didn't take her out, now they're telling us that she did it. So, yeah, this is probably one of the most outspoken, one of the most, full of evidence. She testified at Ghislaine's trial. She's testified quite a bit. So, yeah, and all of a sudden, she's gone. Especially with 2 incidents happening, right, back to back.
Yeah, and she doesn't just have pictures of her like with EpiPen. She has pictures of her with royalty. That's Prince Andrew. So, yeah, the getting hit by a bus and then this happening, this sounds like we're watching House of Cards, season 6. Only we're living it, right?
And this is in Australia.
Yeah, in a farm, on her farm. So, yeah, they reach far. There's nowhere in the world you're untouchable by the people in power. Now, I'm not claiming that this is some big, but I mean, that's just my personal opinion. It is. But there's, without proof, you still know. Yeah. And by the way, I also wanted to say thank you to Ilea. And by the way, I never got back to your last text about that event that happened with the kids. No, that would be absolutely horrible. I don't think I even talked about that either. I did. Yeah, it says, she's been sending me tons of great tweets and different news. But a woman has drove her car through a daycare, an after school camp, resulting in multiple injuries and perishing of multiple children. Said, "Oh my God, my heart is devastated for the parents who were killed." Can you imagine? No, I can't imagine. And well, actually, no. Let me say this: if you're a parent, have you ever been at a park or something and just seeing your kid running towards a general street, like where you have those flashes like of what could happen. In my current house, we don't have the baby gate anymore. Every time my kid walks by the top of the stairs, I think it flashes that he could fall. Or we have this banister at the top of the stairs, and they never built like wood bars blocking it. So I actually got these extendable poles on Amazon, and the entire banister, which at the biggest point you could jump 12 feet, I put extendable poles all the way down because it's a rental. I couldn't put wood in, but all the way down. I've got these poles, tension poles all the way down. But I see those things. I see my kid getting hurt or falling down the stairs. If you're a parent, no matter how old, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And when you hear about these stories, somebody who I believe there may be some very empathetic people out there that aren't parents that feel this, but there is something to say when you hear stories about kids, and especially when they're around the ages of your own kid, because you envision your kid having this happen. It's absolutely horrid. And I'm praying for that daycare. I'm praying for everybody involved. For the kids who perished, I'm praying that they got straight into heaven, and I believe they did. So yeah, that's very sad. But on a happy note though, Ilea, thank you for also watching the news and helping turn in any kind of big stories. Same with no one here yet. That again, just no one here yet is always giving us great stories that somehow we don't find, like really some interesting story that we don't even catch. So thank you. You guys, this is a viewer-powered channel, so if you have news, send it to us, drop it in chat. If there's something going on while we're actually live, we can't be doing both at the same time. So if there's a breaking story, half the time we miss it when we're live. So put it in chat. Before we move on, make sure to go check out Jace. I know nobody likes ads if you're new here, but these ads are important. Every one of our affiliates are something that we think will help you. And in this case, this is something that I bet most of you have run into, that you don't have these things on hand. Jace is a service where you can basically do this from the comfort of your couch. You can talk on your phone, tablet, or computer with a board-certified doctor in a quick appointment, and then discreetly get a kit with all of the most commonly prescribed antibiotics in it. Not only that, you can actually add in things like albuterol and other medications that, again, you may be dependent on, or you may want to have in the case of an emergency. Somebody has an asthma attack. You've got your Jace kit. Again, go to marfooglenews.com/Jace and make sure to use the code MARF. Again, marfooglenews.com/Jace and make sure to use the code MARF. By doing so, not only do you get a discount, you get medicine, that's and antibiotics checked off your list, and you're helping independent news. Nobody decides what we say. Nobody decides what we sell. Nobody decides any of that. Most of our stories are from you guys. So thank you guys. We appreciate it. marfooglenews.com/Jace and make sure to use the code MARF. And then Dex, huge blast at key Iranian port. So we just did a video on this. This is a huge deal.
Yeah, certainly. Very much like what happened in Beirut. This is the biggest commercial port in Iran, so it's going to have some devastating effects. And the question is, how did it happen? They said it was potentially containers holding fuel for missiles.
So very, very convenient that there is an actual part of this explosion that is directly tied in with their nuclear program. If there was fuel for ballistic missiles, the easiest assumption, and everybody is going to immediately go, oh, this was a sabotage. Is it meant to look like that? Could we put it past Iran to do something like this to themselves? And I'm not saying that that's what happened. To be able to say, look at what they did. They did this. They were attacking our ballistic missiles. We need our allies, China and Russia, that we just signed a full military treaty with. We need you guys to step in. And the people in their country support it. They're like, wow, how could they do this? They did an attack on us. I mean, the way that Iran can frame this to their actual population, I mean, the population isn't exactly trained to love America or love any of our allies. but this really could be a big deal. Again, 20 people perished and 800 injured. So most people that work in that city will probably know somebody or be somebody that was involved in this thing. Now, one thing I wonder, Dex, in something we saw with Beirut, is right before Beirut happened, we saw, what were those nuke sniffers that were flying around it? I wonder if the flight data shows, was there a U.S. Nuke sniffer nearby at this time? There probably is some sort of military nearby because we've got half of our Navy over there.
I'd be more suspicious of Israel, just like we saw them with the pagers, where they sabotage pagers with explosive devices. I could see them easily sabotaging containers on their way in with missile rocket fuel, and creating an event like this or making an event like this happen. I could easily see that far more than them doing it to themselves, because I don't think they need to rally up their population to go to war with the rest of their enemy. They've been doing that for 20 years. They're already ready. They've been ready. They talk about it all the time.
Yeah, no, very, very good point. As far as Israel and Iran have been at each other's neck and right at the precipice of a war. For a very long time. But the last 6 months has been so unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen next. The underlying thing here, though, is if you watch today's show, you should see that there are so many big events, and almost all of them, you could easily take a ruler and go, oh, they are all connected. You don't have to stretch far, too, to realize how connected all of these events are. A couple of them, it's a stretch to physically connect them without proof. Even if you remove them, we have so many countries right now that are connected, all at the precipice of war or in a war that's about to be expanded upon. NATO, if you're living in NATO countries right now, I would highly, highly recommend you get prepped, but I don't think I need to tell you that because your own countries are telling you. We recently covered all of the NATO countries that are actually telling their people to prep, and I believe it was on less than 2 fingers that weren't really doing that. So there's not many of those NATO countries that aren't. But as far as us here in the United States, I would highly recommend paying attention to what is going on right now. I would pay attention to what these world events are because any one of these could spiral into something bigger. I want to reiterate, I do not think that the end of the world is around the corner. I do kind of believe we're in final days, but I do not think it's going to be caused by man. I think that they are about to try to restructure the entire planet. And what really sucks in my mind is I don't know what there is we could do about it. What if the wrong people are in power? What if, the wrong people are already in power? Hopefully it doesn't get 50,000 times worse. I'm not going to use historical examples of, the bad guys, because guess what? In 50 years, we could find out everything we were told is a lie. And I'm sitting in America. Most of the world believes we are the bad guy. So again, I hope that we can all get through these times and all be prepared for what is coming. I don't think it's the end of the world. For the people that say nothing will happen, I've seen that a couple times. You have a group. There's a lot of people like you. Your opinion that nothing is going to happen, I actually envy it. And again, I hope nothing does happen. I hope you're right. Because I personally can't push snooze anymore, and I'm not saying you are, but it is... I wish I could go back to believing nothing is going to happen. Even if I'm wrong and I'm connecting things that shouldn't be connected and I'm just totally off, I can't go back to thinking that. And that's unfortunate. Because, man, it would be a lot better to stress a whole lot less about it. But that's why one thing I preach is get prepped, but get prepped slowly. Okay, guys? Thank you so much for coming tonight. I appreciate the mods. Make sure to drop an M in the chat over at marfooglenews.com/friends, and make sure to go subscribe to all of them. drop an M in the chat, both here and on Jams. In fact, we're about to head over there in a second. If you're in the chat, you will be ported. Dex, thank you so much for your service today. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
And thank you so much. It is now time for the shoutro. It is not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Yuckavang, thank you so much for your support tonight. Rochelle Cooley, thank you. Low T and the Vintage. Rochelle, thank you for being the top supporter tonight. And Rascal Dogs, I missed you the other day, so I will make sure to feature you as well. Have a wonderful night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.